Us men who like to dress well often define our style as classic. It's our way of differentiating ourselves from those who wear streetwear or who follow the fleeting fads of fashion. But when does something stop being classic and instead it becomes retro or vintage? Instead of being timeless and elegant, is your style actually a ridiculous pastiche of the past? That's what we're going to find out in today's video. Hello, my name is James, and I'm on a mission to create a generation of gentlemen. If you want to discuss topics such as style and other gentlemanly areas of interest with like-minded men, you can join the Gent Z community. You'll find the link down below. I am very classic in my taste, from music to films to cocktails and cars. I'm certainly what you would describe as an old soul. But when it comes to clothing and outfits, I think there is a very simple visual test you can do to determine if something is classic. One time, I was at the Ray-Ban store and I was trying on a pair of Wayfarer sunglasses, and I was wearing a white polo shirt with a blue blazer over the top. The store associate said to me, "If you took a photo of yourself right now and put it in black and white, people wouldn't know if it were from the 1950s or if it were from today." And for me, that is what defines classic style. It's something that would have looked equally good back then and now. And this doesn't just include formal clothing, it could equally apply to a pair of blue jeans and a white t-shirt. So for me, classic style is something that would have looked fantastic in the 40s, 50s or 60s, yet still looks good today. However, the term classic isn't as simple as we might like to think it is. Often in men's style, we use the term classic as if nothing has changed at all since the 1940s. But even outfits and garments that are very most certainly classic, like a two-piece suit, have changed tremendously over the decades. With suiting, we see this most in the cut of the suit, whether it's more skinny or more baggy. We see it with details like the lapel size, peak or notch lapels, and then on the trousers, pleats and cuffs. A 1960s suit would have looked incredibly dated in the 1970s, and a suit from the 1970s would look incredibly dated today. Even classic menswear stores like Brooks Brothers are not immune to the movements of fashion. Every few years, the cut and the design of their suits will change to cater to the changing perceptions and tastes of the consumer. So this seemingly presents quite a headache for a man who wants to dress in a truly timeless, classic way. And the idea that something could truly be classic is somewhat of a fallacy. However, the solution lies in finding a happy medium when it comes to the fit of your suits and details like the size of your lapels. Look for what Cary Grant described as the middle of fashion. It's this Goldilocks zone where nothing is too skinny nor too baggy. There are no features on the suit or any other garment that are so strong that they clearly define it as belonging to a certain era. So when buying your clothing, you should avoid the extremes of any era, including the modern era. Earlier in this video, I described classic style as something that could have been worn back then and worn now. However, I see many items being described as classic by menswear enthusiasts, even though they haven't been worn by men for 50 or 60 years. I'm talking about hats, pocket watches, boutonnieres, walking canes, and even bow ties. Of course, this varies from culture to culture. In certain parts of the South, you may see lawyers and businessmen wearing bow ties still, but for the most part, these accessories and outfits will make you look not classic, but rather very retro and dated. They are the sort of thing that belong at a vintage festival like Goodwood Revival, rather than on the streets today. So the cut of a suit can make it very distinct to the 1940s or the 1970s, etc. But there are certain eras that have dated better than others. if you got a slim fit suit with notch lapels from the 1960s, that would look much more appropriate and contemporary than, for example, wearing a big, baggy 1970s suit with huge peak lapels. This video isn't to say that there's anything wrong with wearing retro or vintage style, but you should understand that it's a subculture, just like dressing goth, skater, or punk. Personally, I'm not looking to be seen as part of a subculture. I just want to appear as a well-dressed, classic man. For that reason, almost all of my wardrobe is new clothing, and most of it from modern menswear stores. However, my style takes a lot of inspiration from the past, and I believe that I adhere to the principles of classic menswear as best as I can. That doesn't mean I don't dip my toe into the world of vintage with some of my accessories. You may have seen me talk about my wristwatch previously. This is a wristwatch from 1951. It's a family heirloom worn by several men in my family before me. It has a very distinct design that's clearly very dated and old-fashioned, but it's a small detail. It doesn't make my overall outfit seem dated. It's something that people only really notice when they get quite close. I also recently started buying vintage cufflinks on eBay. It's a small detail that, for me, it's not about wearing something that's old, it's about wearing something that's unique. A lot of the clothes and the outfits that I wear could be very easily replicated if you just shopped at the same places as I do. So for me, wearing these accessories like the wristwatch or the cufflinks is a way to create an individual outfit that's very distinctly mine. If you're a young man or you're new to dressing well, I think you should see it as a good thing that classic style is different from vintage style. It actually makes it more accessible. To give you an example, a young man recently shared some photos in the Gent Z community of an outfit he wore to the opera. Now, he looked like he could have stepped out of the 1940s, but he was actually wearing a pair of trousers from H&M and a blazer from Mango. So there are many different ways to create a classic outfit, regardless of your budget or where you like to shop. The outfits of Benedict Cumberbatch, Henry Cavill, or Daniel Craig as James Bond all give a nod to menswear traditions while updating it for the modern day. And I'm a big fan of stores such as Suit Supply, Charles Tyrwhitt, or in the UK, Moss Bros, for bringing the principles of classic style to the modern man. There is absolutely nothing wrong with vintage style, but in my opinion, it's something very different from what is classic and timeless. I would like to know in the comments, how do you define your style? Would you say you are modern, vintage, or somewhere in the middle? And where do you get your clothes from? Do you prefer to shop new, or do you enjoy going secondhand? If you would like to share your outfits in a community of well-dressed gentlemen, then the Gent Z community is the perfect place to do that. Not only will you have access to an exclusive discussion forum, but you'll also be able to join me twice a week for a video call and get personal styling advice. With today's outfit, I'm demonstrating how I would define classic style rather than vintage. I'm wearing a two-piece grey tropical wool suit from Suit Supply, a striped Oxford shirt by J. Crew, with a burgundy knit tie, and then I'm wearing a pocket square by Fort Belvedere with a burgundy edge. I'm wearing a brown leather belt from a fantastic company I recently found on Amazon, with a pair of dark grey socks, and then a pair of brown penny loafers from Ace Marks. You will find the link to all of these products in the description.